Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being your show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Lookism, episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So picking up where the last episode left off, Hyung Seok's mom shows up, and obviously he's in his big body while his little body's resting. And I mean, it's a combination of many different things. It's like, right, don't wake him up because obviously I'll pass out in front of you. That's going to be a whole complicated thing. But then also, right, my body also needs to sleep because I need to also be well rested so that I can go to work and, keep this whole cycle thing going. But it's like, yeah, that's going to be super hard to explain. And it's like, no, he works part-time, and obviously, his mom's like, oh, so he didn't tell me, and it's like, oh, because she probably start feeling a little guilty, like, oh, am I not sending him enough money that he has to work part-time? It's like, oh, both of you living here must be pretty cramped, and he's like, no, it's fine, you get used to it. And I do appreciate that this episode does, because he is in this other body, she felt comfortable telling him, because it's like, right, it's a little easier to tell a stranger, plus it's like knowing, like, oh my god, my son has friends, because I think she finally sees, like, oh, he doesn't really have any friends, because she knows now, like, right, he was getting bullied at his other school, and now Hyung Seok realizes, too, how much his mom does for him. Like, he already kind of knew, but I don't think he fully appreciated it until this episode, because now he knows, like, my mom's going above and beyond for me, and she didn't even tell me, like, she's doing side gigs, because he's like, wait, she's working, like, all the time just to pay for me, and here I am just, sadly, it's like, he felt kind of ungrateful. It's like, she's doing so much for me. She's always done so much for me. And I said such horrible things to her, and she went out of her way to, like, make sure I could go to this school, and she's paying for so much and doing so much. And it is such a, shame. And she offers him money for, like, the drink they got. And he was like, no, you don't have to do this. He's covering, saying, like, no, Hyung Seok isn't getting bullied, which Bosco's nearby, and he's hearing all of this, and it's making him angrier because it's like, right, you're lying to his mom. Oh, the fact is he had to come and pick you, like, he was carrying, like, once again, Bosco's getting so much of their dynamic out of context. Obviously, not even just the whole, like, oh, we're switching bodies, but he's like, oh, you must, oh, like, he's like, oh, he must have made him, like, come pick him up, and it's like, oh, like, you're giving him a piggyback, right? Because he saw, like, how people look down upon small Hyung Seok, so that's why, like, because at the end of the day, throughout the entire episode, you're reminded time and time again, you're like, he doesn't have all the facts, and a lot of it's out of, like, obviously from Bosco's standpoint, you could see why he would think things, but at the end of the day, we all know Bosco's a good dude. He's just, like, misguided in this situation, but he's always trying to look out for the little guy, those who are looked down upon. I'm sure the show might go into it. I don't even know if it's going to be next episode, but maybe in the coming episodes. If I remember correctly, Bosco's motivated by, like, I think his buddy, Bom Jae, who works at the place, which I love that he's like, please stop causing issues, because every time he squeezes his cup, like, milk flies everywhere. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm trying not to get fired from this gig, dude. Stop it. I did love also when, Hyung Seok arrived and everyone's looking at him. I also think it is interesting when you notice, like, Hyung Seok's mom's is the only one who doesn't have that reaction. Like, most, like, women and everything have that reaction to him, but she doesn't, because I guess it's like, right, she sees too much of her son, and she's like, right, not only do you have the same name, you even kind of look alike. And Hyung Seok's like, that is a kind of coincidence, quite the coincidence, isn't it? But, I love that you see one dude, a lady with her, like, boyfriend or whatever, and she turns to look at him, and he turns into, like, a giant squid, and it's just like, I love that, how it, was, animated like that. I thought that was pretty dope. But, yeah, circling back to Bosco, I can't remember if he got bullied, but I remember his buddy, Bom Jae got bullied, I believe, because of his ears. So, I think that is why Bosco, like, is the way he is, because, like, he wanted to be strong enough to protect his friends. So, once again, just straight up, Bosco's just a really, really good dude. He's probably one of the, like, best dudes in the show, but, like, he's, obviously we've already seen that, but, like, I don't remember I don't know if they're going to go into his backstory. I believe they will, but, so there's that aspect to it. But for him, it's just, like I said, he's getting so much of it out of context. It's like she's paying for the drink, and it's like, oh, you're taking the money. He tried to turn it down, but she kept insisting, And it's like, oh, don't you want to see Hyung Seok before you go? And she's like, no, I just came by to make sure he's getting fed. Next time I'll make sure you have something too. And it's just like, oh, Mom, you keep going above and beyond. And it's like, I don't want to worry you and let you know that, yeah, he's still getting, yes, that he, or rather me, is still getting bullied. But, you know, I gotta do this for your sake. And Bosco tracked him down and was like, you know what, we're going to fight because I'm going to get that money, which for him, it's like, oh, you're just trying to take this money. It's like, once again, a misunderstanding on both sides. Bosco's thinking like, oh, you're bullying Hyung Seok. Hyung Seok is like, oh, you're trying to bully me and take this money that my mom worked so hard and she gave to me. It's like, no, like my mom gave me this money. I'm not going to let you take it from me. I thought you were a good guy, but you're just like everyone else. This is like the longest fight. Obviously, it's still on the shorter end, but it's like this is the longest, most extensive fight we got. Because initially, he didn't want to fight Bosco, just dodging his punches initially. But then he wants to fight back, and he tries to attack again. But he ends up blocking it with his knee. I did love the motion because you could also tell too, like, you know, once again, just the little details, like maybe it's always been there and I've just never really noticed it. But in this moment, I'm like, his animation was different. Like the character model was very different in that fight moment. I think it's just like probably like the fights are animated in a very different. I don't have the eye for that. I know nothing about the ins and outs of animation, but you could tell like his character model. Like I noticed that, you know, and I'm not the most observant about that stuff. But like I said, I'll probably never really notice it. But I think it's just because this was the most dynamic fight we've gotten so far. But it's like, yeah, his character model kind of, because I think there is some like 3D to this, and I think maybe that's what happened there. It was just kind of like the character model kind of shifted to 3D. Maybe that's what ended up being different, and maybe that's what it was. But in that moment during the fight, Hyung Seok did what was it last episode, what he kind of learned the boxing trick about kind of like centering himself, and he tries to land a blow on Bosco, but ends up missing. But his body has quick enough reactions that he's able to kind of do a bit of a reversal and like ends up elbowing him in the face. And obviously, like he wasn't like, I think he realized that, I mean, or at least just maybe his very apologetic nature, just because of his circumstances, he ended up putting a jacket over Bosco. He's like, yeah, please look after him. I'm sorry. And I think that's also why Bum J was like, oh, you can't lose, like because of the burn knuckles, you're not supposed to lose. I think it's kind of stemming from that to some extent, because Bosco was like, wow, like that timing on that was like perfect though. You know, it's like, right, this guy knows Muay Thai as well, so he got beat for the first time probably ever. So, and he ends up running into small Hyung Seok at the convenience store, and he's like, hey, like, hey kid, you're not weak, you're strong, because he saw the punch from the punching machine, and he's like, right, you're stronger than you think. And like I said, I think it's when he sees Hyung Seok, small Hyung Seok, he's reminded of himself, you know, and I think that's why he's taken such an interest in him, and he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't get the money back. And I don't know if Hyung Seok, because he's like, what is that about? Like, I don't think he's fully pieced it together, but maybe he has. But either way, it inspired him to be like, right, I have been so weak that I'm just like, he's remembering being bullied in the first episode and just being told like, right, you're going to be in the sewers forever. So he's like, right, this is when he's like, I'm not just going to rely on my other body to change. Like, I'm going to change here. I'm going to change with this body as well. So he plans on doing some workout. And the lovely lady walks in, which I was like, wait, are you, because she's in the intro, but I was like, wait, are you introduced this early, or are they just moving stuff around? I'm like, maybe you were introduced this early, but we don't really get into your whole character situation until later. Because her circumstances, I'm like, well, because I know that, because they even had the thing with the blonde haired dude, I'm blanking on his name again at the very end, and I'm like, I feel like I don't remember his circumstances. The lady, she was like, oh, here, this is good so you can work out. And she was very nice to him, which, like, no one ever is, especially any pretty ladies like that are ever nice to him like that. So I was like, interesting. Like I said, I don't fully remember his circumstances I don't, but hers I remember to some extent. That's why I was kind of like, wait, don't you get introduced, like, way later in this? But I'm like, for one, I'm like, once again, it's been a while since I've read the webtoon, and so part of me is like, maybe this is actually going through the story a lot quicker than I think it will. Because I kind of forget, like when you go look at Noblesse, like Noblesse tore through a lot of those arcs pretty quickly. Like I think like most of those arcs were like 1 or 2 episodes, maybe. Probably more like 3 or 4 maybe, but like even using the Tower of God, like the first season of that webtoon is 90 chapters, if I remember correctly, and the first season of the anime is 13 episodes, so it gets through stuff pretty quickly. I kind of underestimate like how much gets covered in an episode, so that's also the situation of it. Like we might be burning through stuff a lot faster than I'm thinking we are, or maybe it's just like, maybe that is exactly how it happened in a webtoon. I'm just, like I said, I don't remember how much of a straight adaptation this is. Because I also don't remember how far in the story I got, but I do remember, like, where I was in the story. It wasn't like it was just introduced. It was like that lady's circumstances, like, we're pretty deep into, like, we as the audience know, but Hyung Seok didn't know. Obviously, I'm not trying to spoil anything. That's why I'm talking around it, but I don't even remember her name. I saw a few names in the cast at the end. I was like, maybe it's that name, or there was another name. I was like, maybe that's it. But either way, I was like, I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting that element's been introduced, and obviously he's going back to his workout and stuff. So, just overall, a lot of interesting developments on that front. And I think like this is that switch for Hyung Seok to be like I said earlier, not just like kind of coasting by on like what's there with his big body, but also working on things with his small body as well. And obviously like the element of what he learns in one body, he, luckily he can take stuff he does with his big body and try and work to apply it with his little body, but obviously take what he does with his little body and apply it to like his big body as well. So, I mean, because he just never had, like, the reflexes to apply a lot of that stuff. That kind of got introduced in episode 2, that fact. So, I do know that there are moments where that continues to shine through, like, not just on the inverse of, like, oh, I learned this in my little body, it works I'm using it in my big body. It's like, no, it kind of has the inverse effect as well eventually, to my recollection. So, I'm very interested to see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.